Greetings, classmates. I'm Scott Jones, and I'm here to talk to you about Elizabeth Colbert's The Sixth Extinction. The title comes from the fact that in the history of the Earth, there have been five mass extinctions. The first was the end Ordovician mass extinction. Now, during this time, most of Earth's creatures lived in the sea, and we lost a large number of them. Next came the late Devonian mass extinction, an event that nearly wiped out three-quarters of all species on our planet. The end Permian mass extinction came next, and this one was nicknamed the Great Dying because 96% of all species were wiped out. After that came the late Triassic mass extinction, which was blamed on, among quite a few different reasons, like climate change, flood basalt eruptions, and an asteroid impact. The latest completed mass extinction was the end Cretaceous mass extinction. Now, during this time, we lost the dinosaurs, as well as the plesiosaurs, the mosasaurs, the ammonites, and the pterosaurs, flying ones. I say the Cretaceous extinction was the last completed mass extinction because, according to many scientists, as well as me after reading Colbert's book, we're actually living through Earth's sixth mass extinction, a period that scientists are calling the Anthropocene. What makes this mass extinction so unique? It is being brought on by current species. It has nothing to do with any external factor or anything. It has to do with it's being caused by us, mankind. The Anthropocene, a term coined by Nobel-winning chemist Paul Crutzen, is used because mankind is the primary cause for the current mass extinction that we're going through. Among many geologic scale changes people have affected, Crutzen cited the following. Human activity has transformed between 1/3 and 1/2 of the land surface on the planet. Most of the world's rivers have been dammed or diverted. Fertilizer plants produce more nitrogen than is fixed naturally by all terrestrial ecosystems. Fisheries remove more than 1/3 of the primary production of the ocean's coastal waters. And humans use more than half of the world's readily accessible freshwater runoff. In addition, Crutzen said people have altered the composition of the atmosphere through fossil fuel consumption as well as deforestation. Throughout this book, Colbert shows us evidence of mankind's influence on the extinction of numerous creatures. The book starts with the story of Panamanian golden frog, a creature that was once so abundant that hikers would not be able to walk through the jungle during certain times of the year without stepping on them. Usually it's during mating season. Panamanians considered the frogs lucky and even had pictures of them printed on lottery tickets. Nowadays, most of these frogs live in tanks in a Panamanian conservation center because of a fungus named Batrachochytrium dendrobatitis. I got it out. I actually impressed myself with that one. We call it BD for short, which is what I'm going to be referring to it from now on. Anyway, BD has decimated this population to the point where she would go back. She went back once, found a few, went back again, couldn't find any. Not in the wild. BD has since spread and can now be found on all corners of the globe. Scientists speculate that BD has either moved around the globe due to the shipments of African clawed frogs that were used in the 1950s and 60s to be used in pregnancy tests, or by North American bullfrogs that were introduced into Europe, Asia, and South America for culinary reasons. Gotta love that French cooking with those frog legs, don't ya? Well, now we're living with the result. BD has run rampant through these species, but they don't seem to be affected as other amphibians, so they're very resilient to it, which means they're passing it on, almost like carriers. And this is it's happening at such a rate that that worldwide amphibians are dying at a rate of, or becoming extinct, I should say, at a rate of 45,000 times higher than historical data. Normally they were very resilient, but this disease is just devastating. Um, Now, whether by overhunting, deforestation, rising human-caused CO2 levels, or the importing of invasive species, Colbert describes mankind's influence on the decimation of a number of species throughout this book. Like the Panamanian golden frog, the North American bat population has been decimated by an imported fungus. Geomyces destructans, also known as white nose, due to the bat's appearance when it's affected by it, is speculated to have come over by passenger planes from Europe, where, while widespread, European bats are not affected by it. Um, Colbert goes on to describe the almost horrific account of how she was going through a cave in Vermont and to go and do a bat census, and couldn't even do it. There was just piles of dead bats everywhere, to the point of when she was trying to get in there, she was slipping on all these dead bodies. It was really kind of horrific. It's gross. Um, Colbert also writes about how we have what we put into the atmosphere is being absorbed by the oceans. So much so that we may see CO2 concentrations so high that they will double what they were in pre-industrial days by 2050. The result of which will be the disappearance of glaciers, the flooding of low-lying islands and coastal cities, the melting of the Arctic ice caps. The CO2 concentrations will also cause the oceans to become so acidic that they will no longer be able to sustain current sea life. Currently, our oceans are already becoming so acidified that the Great Barrier Reef is becoming bleached, which means it's not able to regenerate itself, and it's just gonna die. And at the current rate, this example of biodiversity, because so many creatures depend on the reef. It sustains entire food chains just within the reef, and all of that's going to go away, and it's no longer to be able to sustain life, probably within our grandchildren's lifetime. Colbert also describes the result of climate change to forests in the Peruvian Andes, where the average temperature has risen due to global warming, and she has actually seen tree species actually move up the mountains to reach cooler temperatures. So the trees are doing is they're releasing their seeds, and it's actually growing at higher elevations, because it's cooler over there. She also describes the effect of deforestation on the rainforests of Brazil, where we have lost flora and fauna before they've even had a chance to be discovered. Think of all the creatures and the plants that are out there that are just already gone and extinct within our lifetime, that never had a chance to be discovered. Now, while many of us, if not all, have heard of the dodo or the carrier pigeon, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are unfamiliar with the great auk, a large flightless bird, kind of similar to a penguin. Um, the great auk population was at one time so plentiful that it ranged from Norway over to Newfoundland, and from Italy to Florida. Colbert describes finding accounts where sailors were actually using these oily birds as fuel for a fire, as well as cooking them, because they were so abundant. So all you had to do was just take a pot, and you would grab these birds, just because they'd be all over the place. They had no fear of humans, because they'd never really been hunted. So sailors were just able to go get them and crack their necks and actually throw them on the fire to start cooking other great auks. Now this happened so much, and because of all the widespread commercial hunting that was going on. Unfortunately, this really gentle bird was hunted to the point of extinction. Um, Now, while the Anthropocene was thought to be something that started in the late 1800s, around the time of the Industrial Revolution, Cobell's research shows that it may have actually started hundreds of thousands of years earlier. It seems that Homo sapiens, as they spread across the world, megafauna, like large prehistoric animals like the woolly rhinos, cave bears, and giant elk in Europe, mastodons, mammoths, and saber-toothed cats in North America, and Australia's rhinoceros wombats, marsupial lions, and the short-faced kangaroo were all slowly but surely being hunted until the time they got extinct. Some of these were killed for food source, or in the case of the carnivores, like the saber-toothed cats or the marsupial lions, it was competition, and it was either kill or be killed with them at that point. Now, this didn't just stop with animals, though. Evidence also points to the fact that Homo sapiens also caused the extinction of Neanderthals, a species very close to our own. As a matter of fact, before any their extinction happened, where we either pushed them out or killed them off, it seems there may have been some crossbreeding going on. Enough to the fact that even today, 4%, as much as 4% of our DNA came from Neanderthals. There's actually a study going on right now to map the Neanderthal genome. Hasn't been completed yet, and at that point we'll be able to find out a little more once it's completed. So what does this all mean? Well, according to Colbert's book, Homo sapiens have been slowly working on bringing about our own demise, and sadly we are doing a pretty good job of it. With invasive species, global warming, deforestation, and the acidification of our oceans, biodiversity is going away. We're seeing less different types of animals, and we're also losing our Arctic ice. And unless there's a great change in worldwide government policy, which who knows when we're going to see that, if we ever see that in our lifetimes, but if nothing changes, our grandchildren or our great-grandchildren may only know about polar bears or amphibians through their studies. It'll be something they read on the internet, or if they still got them at that time, crack open a book. But something needs to be done, or else our way of life, our way of life needs to change. But our humankind we may be bringing about our own demise. Sadly enough, we'll see if things go. Well, anyway, that's all for me. I do highly recommend this book, and I hope you all add it to your vacation reading. And we got this nice break coming up between semesters. I recommend it. Check it out. It's actually really educational. I did enjoy it, although I did find it a bit scary. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a paper to finish. See ya.